Show me the bracket. Oh, there it is. I get so excited. You should too. It is one of the greatest days of the year. Selection Sunday. We're going to start in the South region because that's where Auburn is the #1 overall seed. If they can navigate themselves all the way to Atlanta, they'd have themselves a virtual home game there. So they're going to play the first round matchup between Alabama State and St. Francis as you take a look at us now on set. So in the South, it's Auburn, Michigan State, Iowa State, and Texas A&M as your top 4 seeds. I'm going to be quite honest with you. I don't have Auburn getting out of this region. I'm just telling you right now. I'm telling you right now, they're not getting out of this region. And that's my opinion. What jumps out to you here in the South region?
Lot to break. A few things I love more than a bracket on a screen. Let's go. All right, let's look through this here. Auburn 116, not going to have an issue. I wrote about St. Francis. Incredible story. If they can get past Alabama State, we'll see what's waiting there. Louisville versus Creighton. Now this is in Lexington. I asked the committee chair and vice chair about this. That is a big time bird battle. Yep. I thought Louisville's brutally underseeded. Creighton is a 9. Don't love it. That could consider this. You could have Auburn playing Louisville in Lexington. I mean, to me, that's the #1 overall seed getting a Louisville team that had 2 losses, albeit in a down ACC, but a 2-loss Louisville team that took Duke deep into the ACC title game. No favors there for Auburn. I hear what you're saying, Akeem. Michigan. I'm gonna go right down the list here. Let me cook. Michigan against UC San Diego. I'm sorry, not buying this from the committee chair. This is an absolute joke. Michigan had the 4th most quad 1 wins. There's no justification for having Michigan on the 5 line. And not just that. They have to play a UC San Diego team that is top 40 at KenPom, and I understand why it's on the 12 because of the resume and the lack of higher-end scheduling that it has.
It's a bad matchup for them.
Michigan got hosed.
By the way, it's like bad matchup because Michigan's got bigs. UC San Diego spreads you out.
Yes.
They shoot the 3. Like
they got a guy with sticky fingers named Hayden Gray, leads the nation in steals. That's Michigan.
Because matchups are so important.
Not just that, but Michigan is prone to turnovers. I'm not there yet. Okay, as we look at this bracket, that's going to be a trendy. I think a trendy 12 over 5.
Are you putting the Wolverines on upset alert?
Not yet. I got. Let me take it. You know what? I'll tell you what though. I don't think that there will be a region in the tournament that is picked more commonly for both the 4 and the 5 to lose than right here. Because when you go further down, you've got Texas A&M against Yale.
I picked them both to lose.
Yale beat Auburn a season ago. Texas A&M is the worst shooting high major team that's in the field, but the best offensive rebounding team. It's going to be a very, very trendy 13 over 4 pick. We've seen Yale in this exact spot, Tim, before. It'd be 13 over 4. Before we go bottom half here, take it away. Thoughts on the top?
Yeah, I have both the 12 beaten 5. That's a bad matchup for Michigan. Like, Michigan's got bigs. UC San Diego wants to play 5 out and shoot 3s, baby. Now, if they go 7 of 35 from 3, they're going to get run off the court and lose by 25. But that's a bad matchup. And Yale has 2 senior guards that are so hard to find, Joe, because they've been 4 years in the system. I'm talking about Mbang and Poulakidis, and now Nate Townsend has emerged down low because there's no more Danny Wolf. Like, that's a team that's like, yeah, no problem. Oh, by the way, last year was in the tournament. Guess who they beat? The #1 overall seed, Auburn. So they're like, yeah, bring on whoever. So this region is odd. I think Auburn's got the softest amounts of teams. Like, the rest of you, like, eh. But, like, to face Louisville, as Matt said, in Kentucky in the 2nd round, that is brutal.
I'm not looking past Auburn right now, but I leaned in and asked you, is Auburn the weakest one that we're looking at? If you had to pick a region that you're going to try and play your way through as, let's say, a 2, because my eyes, when I look into the South, immediately went to Michigan State. What do you see when you look at their path, Matt?
I think this is a relatively tough region, although we also have news here. So a lot of stuff, as Selection Sunday is unfolding here, stuff is coming in. So TJ Altenberger is the coach at Iowa State. Iowa State's a 3 in this region. Keyshawn Gilbert, in my estimation, is the most valuable player for Iowa State. Altenberger said he will not be available. Gilbert will not be available for the tournament. That is a major blow.
Major blow.
And by the way, this was obviously not communicated to the committee, but I actually thought ISU on the 3 line was debatable. If they had, this is, frankly, if schools can put this forth, if you can not disclose your injury situation to better your seed, this is exactly what you do. But not having Gilbert available is a major ding. By the way, Auburn and Iowa State, I saw them in person at the Maui Invitational. Auburn won that game. Iowa State had a 17-point lead. They'd have to meet in the Elite 8. I don't even know on that. Michigan State's at the bottom half of this. Tom Izzo, we know what he can do. They've been really, really good as of late. This is a tough region, but I would say to you, in the top half here, Louisville's capable of giving Auburn a game. Creighton has Ryan Kalkbrenner. He's one of the best defenders in the country and a guy that's really... Ryan Kalkbrenner is good enough to neutralize Janai Broome. So if Creighton can get past Louisville, I keep an eye on it. Just, Joe, to your overall question, like how tough is the road here? You've got Michigan, 2 7-footers that could be waiting if they meet in the Sweet 16. UC San Diego is the best mid-major team in the country right now. And then Texas A&M, Yale, we'll see. A&M, there will be some familiarity there with Auburn and A&M, and those two teams met earlier this season. And guess what? Auburn beat them. A&M beat them back on March 4th. They got the win there. So, yeah, there's that. And then can we scroll down to the bottom, please, on the bottom half of this bracket? Ole Miss against San Diego.
Can I jump in here?
Okay, jump in.
I think Ole Miss is a fraud. Now, we were debating if San Diego State or North Carolina were going to get in. Mm-hmm. They both get in. Mm-hmm. Whoever wins that game is beating Ole Miss. Ole Miss gets a lot of love because they played in a great conference, Joe. They had a lot of opportunities and stuff. Eyeball test with Ole Miss. That is a fraud at number 6, and I'm targeting them.
Historically, we do get one of those first four that can flip some tables, make some noise, and maybe that's the spot that we find it in this game.
You want to know something? Like the North Carolina-San Diego State game, that's a difficult game. I'm picking San Diego State, so I have San Diego State beating Ole Miss. Like, Ole Miss was one of those teams. You got to find teams that you're going to target. I am targeting them, especially out of 6.
Guys, San Diego State has a win over Houston this year. It beat Creighton. Actually, the matchup's the matchup at this point. It's got no business going to Dayton. San Diego State should have been well clear of the first 4. Here they are. Carolina, the last team into the field, has, here we go. Okay, you're in. This is a quad 1 opponent. We're going to be 1-14 in this situation. Iowa State, Lipscomb, the Bisons, plural, not Bison, Bisons, keep an eye on that. Marquette, New Mexico, you got Richard Pitino versus Shaka Smart. This is an awesome, guys, you get Donovan Dent versus Cam Jones. These are 2 of the 5 or 6 best guards in the entire country this season. That's a phenomenal head-to-head 7-10 matchup, Tim.
Yes, I just think Joe Musso, he starts doing this. He sees Izzo down there, and the fingers come together, and he starts. We've seen this movie how many times, Joe?
At a long lunch with Coach, he's got the guys ready. What do you got there,
Michigan State.
That's where my eyes went.
Michigan State, out of the South.
Why?
Because they have Tom Izzo. Because, you know what? Here's why. The fact that they're one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the nation has not stopped this team. They're 3-11 in the nation. They have found ways to win. They have rallied from multiple double-digit deficits this season. It's Tom Izzo in March. I don't bet against him. This is 27 straight NCAA tournament appearances for Tom Izzo.
Matt, I kind of agree with him, because how many times have we sat up on this desk and gone, yeah, Michigan State, and then when they win, we're like, oh, Tom Izzo in March.
And if we follow the thought experiment that we just did, if we're scratching out Iowa State, I know that's the red pen, and that might be a little too soon for that. You beat Marquette, and we'll see it when it really matters.
We will, but I tell you what, what's
interesting? By the way, they have a lottery pick. Jace,
yeah, he's been tremendous.
His stock is exploded.
Correct.
It has been. Now, on the bottom half, I actually just talked to Shaka Smart after Marquette lost in the Big East. We were back in the locker room. Marquette and Michigan State both not good from 3-point range. That could come back to bite them. New Mexico as a 10. Okay, I spoke with Richard Pitino earlier today. He is going to have that team ready. New Mexico is good enough. This was the best team in the Mountain West in my estimation. Donovan Dent is a dude. He is capable. You see the New Mexico Marquette game. That is potential. Michigan State, I like them. I'm going to decide later in the show, guys. I haven't picked who's coming out of this region yet. When I look at the South, to me, when I look at this region, I see immediately the potential. I'm like Dr. Strange I've got all sorts of different calculations of the way that this region can go. I could see Auburn, I could see Michigan, I could see Iowa State, Michigan State.
I disagree.
New Mexico with the Reds. I could see a lot of teams coming out of this region. They're really, really good guys.
I've called games with Keyshawn Gilbert. He's a glue guy. He's the ultimate.
He's more than that.
No, he makes guys better. Yeah. He defends. That is a huge blow. What wins this time of year? You got to have a good guard. And he's as good as it gets. I remember calling his games at UNLV. He was a triple-double threat every time he stepped on the floor. He makes that team go. Matt said it best. We didn't know that he wasn't going to be available. If that was common information, maybe there are 4, maybe there are 5. I think this is going to get really goofy I'm having a hard time getting through the first couple rounds. But so at the end of the day, I'm looking at Michigan State and I'm going, yeah, I've seen this.
And by the way, we didn't disclose, I believe it is a groin issue for Gilbert that is going to keep him from playing in the NCAA.
I want the Matt Norlander alternate bracket. I know you have enough on your plate tonight, Matt, but I'd love to see the 1 through 68 there.
Okay, man, this is This is tasty. I don't know if it's the best region, but that top left of your bracket here, there's a lot of potential, and you've got teams that have had some real hot streaks. Just one last thing from me on this. Auburn, Michigan State, Iowa State, Ole Miss. You have teams here that have had really, really big hot streaks. Louisville obviously qualifies there.
I actually think Auburn got a huge break overall in the region.
Yeah.
I think it's a very soft region, with the exception of playing Louisville potentially in the second round.
I disagree with that. Creighton is not an easy scout, and they shoot well from three. And Kalkbrenner, as I said before, he is good enough.
If they had Pop Isaacs, they would be different.
I know, and Creighton is not. Here's the thing, Creighton's not deep, but they never foul, so their five are almost always on the floor. I can see Auburn getting itself caught up in a game where it's 4 or 5 points with 3 minutes to go with either of those teams.
We're going to get to each and every matchup throughout the show here on CBS Sports HQ. Matt's going to set them up. Tim's going to give us a pick, but we got a region hop here as we have scratched off the South. Coming up next, we got more analysis from surface level as we turn our attention to the Midwest. Houston is your one, but who will be one when it's said and done? Couldn't help myself, Timmy. More HQ coming. Back on CBS Sports HQ as we turn our attention to the great Midwest. Houston is your one seed. 5 straight Sweet 16s for the Cougs, but 6 Final Fours yet to cut nets. Perhaps this is the season where Kevin Sampson and Houston can go the distance as we break down what we see in this Midwest. Matt Norlander, Hakeem Dermish, Tim Doyle, Joe Musso here on set. Matt, I know you've been gnawing on this one for a bit. When you look at the Midwest, Houston obviously going to be a tough out for anybody. They play physical, they play defense. That is sort of the calling card, the through line to all of these trips. What makes you feel like this could be different this go around?
Well, a couple things here. One, there's only one team in the field that is a 1 seed this year. That was a 1 seed last year, and we're looking at the region here. Cougars, 3 years in a row, top line. Kelvin Sampson has an incredible program. I think broadly speaking, this region sets up better for Houston than any other 1 seed. That's just my look, and we're getting to all 4. But with that said, the hiccup is the second round. When you look at what we've got here, we've got Bulldogs versus Bulldogs, Georgia versus Gonzaga. Houston and Gonzaga are both top 10 Ken Pom teams. Now, Gonzaga didn't get enough done on the resume end, so keep in mind, the committee is not trying to seed teams based on how good they are in predictive metrics, although I think you can make a case here and there that if you want to bump them up a seed line to help competitive balance in the bracket, personally, that doesn't bother me. But Gonzaga can only go up so high. And so here we have Houston, Gonzaga, 2 teams that both, of course, made the 2021 Final Four, albeit they did not meet at that Final Four. They could be here in the second round, and boy, oh boy, I don't think there's a better second round matchup from a gameplay standpoint that's on the board, all 32 potential or however many when you mix in the combinations there, than Houston and Gonzaga. Clemson against McNeese is intriguing. I will see Clemson, McNeese, Purdue, High Point. I'll be on site in Providence on Thursday for the first round. Those games are going to come to you Thursday in Providence. McNeese is coached by Will Wade, a hot coaching candidate on the carousel right now. Clemson in the midst of its winningest season ever. That's an intriguing matchup for them overall, no doubt about it. And then when we scoot down to the bottom half of the bracket, you've got Illinois, which I'm calling Illinois the choose your own adventure team. If you told me that Illinois lost to Texas or Xavier, it would not shock me in the least. If you told me that Illinois got through that game, beat Kentucky, Illinois-Kentucky is actually pretty tasty. Kentucky's another one of my teams where they're a total choose-your-adventure team, and then they got past either Tennessee or UCLA and made the Elite Eight. Illinois is entirely capable of that if they can shoot the three-point ball pretty well here. This is a fun region. I think there's the potential for just absolute mess across the board. I like Utah State over UCLA. We'll get more into game-by-game breakdowns here, but I do think, big picture, Tim, that all the 1 seeds, Houston has the quote-unquote easiest road. It never works out like that because we have upsets and then you get to the Sweet 16 and the field doesn't look like what we thought it would look like. But I think the Cougars, who, by the way, really good, can win a national title, I think they're probably fairly happy scanning what's in the bottom right part of this bracket.
Choose your own adventures. That was actually my dating bio when I was single. Yeah, I agree. Illinois, you don't know what you're going to get. Spot on. When they're good, well, really good, they got top 10 talent on their squad. Kentucky, I drank this juice last year, and obviously that did not go well for me.
But different team, different coach, and within the hours we're talking here real quick, Tim, Mark Pope has said he expects Lamont Butler to be pretty healthy and good to go. That's obviously so huge for their
Absolutely, yeah, he's the Keyshawn Gilbert of that team because he runs the point. Obviously, he's been through the war. He's made big shots in Final Fours. I have Kentucky going pretty far there. Clemson and McNeese, those were 2 schools, full disclosure, I had making a run. and now they're playing each other, Joe. I'm like, great. So
who's making the run?
Right, so now I have to make a choice here. Clemson turned it on as of late. Let's not forget, they lost to South Carolina earlier in non-conference season. I got McNeese winning that game. What a year for Will Wade's group. 19-1 in the Southland Conference. They're really going to be a three-point team. Like 10 plus or more, the way they're athletic, the way they can rebound, the way they can defend. If they make 10 plus or more threes, I have them beating Clemson. Purdue, choose your own adventure. Can we put them under that ride? Because my trust factor with them isn't extremely high. Kentucky, Tennessee, they played some great games. Kentucky actually went down in Knoxville and beat Tennessee. Tennessee, Matt, I want your honest assessment. They get a 2, they get a lot of respect. We've seen this movie before. Can they go to a Final Four?
Oh, yeah. No, they're definitely good enough to do it. This is the best 2 seed, I think, of all the 2s that you've got on the board. Bama, Tennessee, St. John's. I take that back. I like St. John's more than Tennessee. But Tennessee's really, really good. They've got Jemai Mashak, who I think is the best defender in college basketball. Zekai Ziegler's not that far behind. They've had a really good showing in the SEC tournament. Vols are certainly good enough. Last year, they got to the Elite 8. They ran into Zach Edey and Purdue, which obviously made the national championship game. Rick Barnes has only made 1 Final Four in his career. That was back at Texas all the way back in 03, the year that Syracuse won with Carmelo Anthony. Good enough to do it. My concern is if it's Houston versus Tennessee in the regional final, if you get a 1-2, if you get a chalky matchup to get to the Final Four, Houston's like 7% better than Tennessee at everything that Tennessee wants to do. Doesn't mean Tennessee can't win a head-to-head, but if those 2 teams played 50 times, Houston would win more often than not.
We have reached halftime of our regional look ahead.
Houston's winning it all.
He's got Houston going.
Spoilers.
We got halftime entertainment.
I'm just telling you right now. I mean, Houston can easily. I'm not saying. Okay, when I say easily, of all the ones Houston can get out of this region, and then if they get to the Final Four, virtual home game, 3 hours to San Antonio, Houston's cutting down the nets. I'm giving it to you right now because I love Houston defensively, and Florida in the West. That's a gauntlet, an absolute gauntlet. 3 of the 6 30-win teams are in the West. That's ridiculous, okay? So we're going to continue to break this down. The West region, I mean, you want to talk about a region that's nasty? This is nasty.
I totally
This is Murderer's Row. Back here on CBS Sports HQ, our Selection Sunday coverage continues. I'm going to call this region the Group of Death. 3 of the 6 30-win teams are in the West, led by the #1 seed, Florida. The Gators,
Wouldn't it be Region of Death?
Sure. Group of Death, Region of Death, whatever you want to call it.
Well, group is more for soccer, isn't it?
Right, but we're a group. We're a group here on set. You can call them the Region of Death if you want to. We share. I don't know if you knew, we share our confines with Galazzo, so we're trying to keep everybody happy. See,
well done.
that's why I said Group of Death, trying to keep everything happy and everybody feeling good about the food and the snacks and the set and all that stuff. So here we go. This region, Matt Norlander, I'm excited about this region because the matchups are juicy. The one matchup that I look at is a potential second-round matchup between John Calipari and Rick Pitino.
It's at the bottom half of the bracket. I will be there in Providence. Not only that, but how about this? You got Bill Self versus John Calipari, and you got Rick Pitino. 3 Hall of Fame coaches, oh, by the way, involved here. Yeah, that's really spicy. Arkansas and Kansas, 2 of the more underachieving teams this season. Kansas having its worst season ever.
Choose your own adventure teams.
Yeah, no, I kind of know how the adventure's going to go for Arkansas. I don't know if there's really much choosing there. But Kansas.
Are you not getting them out of that
No alternate ending.
We'll see. Boogie Fland expected to play for Arkansas. He's an NBA-level talent. We'll see if him.
They won 0 SEC games with him.
That's also true, so we'll see on that. Kansas, Arkansas feels, we'll see. St. John's is on a heater. I'm picking St. John's to get to the Sweet 16 minimum. There's no way I'm not picking St. John's to get out of this part.
I'm glad you went there because, Tim, yesterday, you two on this air, you expressed some concerns about St. John's. Now that you see them, you see the seed, you see the routes, you see the lack thereof in terms of travel early on for the Johnnies. How do you feel about them?
Totally agree. I got a chance to call Omaha in the Summit League, and I thought they could put a scare into they can't put a scare into St. John's.
Yeah.
That's a game where St. John's is just too physical. Rick's done an amazing job in year number 2. We've seen this movie how many times at how many different schools? They shot 7 of 14 from deep against Creighton in the Big East Conference Championship game. I'll say this right now. If they shoot 50% from 3 in any NCAA game, they ain't losing because they're so physical and they can defend. And if they're able to bury shots and bury 8, 9, 10 threes and shoot 40% or better, that it was going to be their Achilles heel. The fact that they're in Providence, they're going to travel extremely well. Flew into New York. I played at St. John's for a year. So I'm aware when people have St. John's gear on. Someone upstairs has it on, right?
Yeah.
Mom went there from Whitestone. Shout out, 718. I've never seen so much Red Storm gear in my entire
New York's
life.
team.
They have taken over the Northeast, and this draw is really, really tasty for them. The team that I like, love the Drake. Don't like the Drake, love the Drake. Ben McCollum is going to be one and done at Drake. He's actually going to be a coach that's one and done. He gets whatever job he wants. He has a guard. You have to hear this out. The guy's name is Bennett Sturtz.
It's awesome.
Yep. He's a 6'4" point guard. I had to see it for myself. I got a babysitter. Me and the wife went down to UIC of Chicago, and I watched one half of Drake versus UIC. They actually lost the game to Illinois-Chicago. The guy had 14 points, 7 assists. He dominated the game. We left at halftime because I wanted to go have some dirty martinis, stuffed with blue cheese olives. But I saw enough at that time. I went, this guy's a superstar, and they play a style that's going to be very difficult to guard. Bad matchup when they see Texas Tech. That physicality is, I think, is going to be too much for them. But I believe they beat Missouri there, Matt.
You're out on Dennis Gates and his crew there.
Oh, but let's not forget Missouri. You know how many conference wins last year, right? As many as us. 0. They were 0-19 in the SEC. Great story. Happy the guy turned it around. Bad matchup for Missouri.
I don't know. Missouri's been. How about this?
I like Missouri.
Missouri is capable of. This is just, they are capable of beating Drake, beating Texas Tech. I don't know if after that. They've been up and down. This is Drake. Drake shouldn't be an 11. I knew it was going to happen, but Ben McCollum runs some awesome stuff. They're not going to be afraid. This is a really, I mean, this matchup has the potential to be such a fun contrasting of styles. Drake will make you play on its terms. It is going to play, slow down, grind you up. But here's the thing. Even though they like to play low possessions, they're so much fun to watch. A lot of potential here. I got to be honest. The past few tournaments, I always get so excited for the bracket and seeing all of this stuff. But like the overall collection of matchups we have in the first round, I just love one after another. There aren't a lot of matchups where I go, not that interested. Now I'm talking about your 5, 12, 6, 11, 7, 10s, and 8, 9s. These are all really good. On the bottom half of the West here, I like Texas Tech a lot. I don't think it's going to have much trouble with the Seahawks, and all shouts to Takeo Siddle, also a guy who I think is very much in to get a bigger job once the season ends here. A Drake over Missouri is going to be one that you're going to have to force me to make this pick before the end of the night because I'm wavering back and forth.
I'm going to jump in. I think they have the best player. I talked about Drake there. Can we go to the top of the bracket? Because I like Florida. I picked them before the show. I'm obviously going to stick with them now. I believe they're the best team. You know what this seems like to me, Akeem?
Tell me.
Group of death. I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to change and say the region of death.
I'm just kidding. It is the region of death. Because Memphis is a squad. Guys, they're underdog in that game. Colorado State's actually favorite. Nico Medved's doing an awesome job. They've won 10 straight games. Love Nick up there. Clifford's been playing awesome. But Florida's going to have to go through a defending national champ, potentially, UConn. Then they're going to run into either Memphis or Maryland. I had Memphis and Maryland, Matt, as two squads that I was like, oh, baby, they're going to make a run. Well, now they can't make a run because they're going to see each other pretty quickly. Memphis got P.J. Haggerty, who's at his 3rd school in 3 years. He's had 3 games this year where he's had 20 in the first half. He's a scoring machine.
3rd in the nation in scoring. He's a beast.
Maryland has the next Antoine Walker / Zach Randolph. Yep. It's really hard to quantify how great Derek Queen is because he can shoot the 3, he can post up. He's got help with Julian Reese. They got older guards. I think Memphis and Maryland's going to be an awesome game. I have Maryland advancing, but Florida's going to have their hands full.
Yeah, Maryland in that bracket, the Crab 5, led by Derek Queen. I could see them being a trendy pick to get to the Final Four.
They could be. Now, having Florida's a tough one.
Top 10 defense.
Yes.
They're top 30 in offense.
Yes. They have one of the 5 or 6 best starting 5s in the country. They got a Memphis team that doesn't mess around and can really be aggressive and physical. A lot of fun there. Colorado State's also really hot. I'm officially claiming it here. The West is my favorite of the 4 regions. Just between UConn as an 8, Memphis as a 5, which can
the group of,
which is incredible. Colorado State and Nick Clifford, who is an NBA player and been amazing All-American level player. Maryland, this is the absolute goods here. Keep an eye on Maryland. It is a fun dark horse to come out of this region, but just be aware of the fact that Memphis is really good and beating a lot of good teams. Florida is playing better than anyone, and I mean anyone that's in this field right now. Yeah, I think this is going to be littered with close and dramatic finishes. I love the West, which is no surprise because there's not a lot of teams based out West, so you get a little bit of the hodgepodge there, and that can produce some really interesting, fun results and matchups.
Memphis is being completely disrespected because that league doesn't get a lot of attention. They have older, experienced guards. They have physical bigs. They've had impressive wins all year long. They have a star in Haggerty. I think they got a really tough draw. By the way, they're dogs. I mentioned that game. Colorado State's actually favored as a 12 seed. The Mountain West, this is a conference we've seen go to the Final Four at San Diego State, and we've seen them lay some pretty big eggs in the tournament. I'm taking Memphis in that game, but the smart money's obviously on Colorado State.
This region has 4 head coaches who have won a national championship. Dan Hurley, Bill Self, John Calipari, Rick Pitino. That's the most in one region since 2018. That's why I called it the region of death. Coming up, the East region. Duke, how are they going to get to the Final Four? Their path.
Give it a name. We need a name.
We'll get a name after the break. Our coverage continues here on CBS Sports HQ. Duke looking to get back to the Final Four. We're back after this.
Back on our Selection Sunday extravaganza as we turn our attention to our final region that we will address. Before we get into each and every one of those games, assessment, picks, it's all coming your way. In the East, it'll be Duke, your 1 seed, Alabama, your 2, the Dukies. Moving forward, but how far without Cooper Flagg? 31-3 as we say hello again from our desk. Matt Norlander, Hakeem Dermish, Tim Doyle, Joe Musso, and that's the answer that I want is one that maybe we don't have just yet. When you look at this road for Duke, when does Cooper Flagg need to play, Matt Norlander?
Need to play?
Against Baylor.
I would say Baylor. Yeah, I would say Baylor. That's the big one right there.
Sorry, I answered that for you.
No, you're good. You're good, buddy. You're into it just like I am. They got a lottery pick. Mississippi State's a good team. They're not going to have trouble overall beyond that first weekend. But yeah, Cooper Flagg. I think he's going to want to play every single game. Personally, I'm not doubting that he will be available for that. But I like the way the top half, Tim, of the East sets up for Duke.
Oh, couldn't agree more because I got upsets everywhere on the top half. I have Baylor winning that game. Talked about that lottery pick. VJ Edgecombe out of Lehigh is now at Baylor. Their backcourt, him alongside Rob Wright. Super exciting. They actually had a huge NIL budget. Probably underachieved, but Duke beats them, and then this is where things get goofy, folks.
Yes.
Things get Liberty, 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 Liberty. I have them beating Oregon. Oregon's been up and down. No doubt they have talent. Akron. John Gross cannot coach at a Power 5 or Power 6 school. Matt Norlander, do you put John Gross in the MAC? He smacks everybody around. Doesn't matter if it's Ohio U, he went to a Sweet 16. And now at Akron, his backcourt of Johnson and Johnson are really tough. Love Tavari Johnson, followed him in high school at Lyons Township. I have Liberty and Akron advancing there, which makes Duke fans extremely happy, Hakeem.
Yeah, that's true. This is Cooper Flagg has to play against the winner of Mississippi State Baylor. I would pick Baylor to win that game. This is, for me, when I look at this bracket, Duke automatic Elite 8. That's where I'm already willing to say it already.
I think that's fair.
Arizona's choose your own adventure.
Yes.
Arizona's choose your own, and then how about Oregon? Are they choose your own adventure? What are you getting?
Quack.
Yeah, I think that's
you're
fair.
On a pond. You don't know what you're getting.
So, are they both going to lose, Oregon and Arizona? Probably not, but I would bet one of them goes down. And Arizona, we've seen in years past, as recently as, 2 years ago? When they were a number 2 seed, they fell to a 15 seed in Princeton. I have a hard time trusting Arizona. Obviously, they made that crazy shot, against Iowa State, the 3. That kind of changed the whole season for them, changed the whole season for Iowa State. I have trust issues there. Oregon, they were ranked in the top 10, and you were like, wait, how are they in the top 10? And then Illinois went out there, beat the brakes off of them. They've been up and down all season. They're probably not both going to lose, but Liberty's got the recipe. They could score. They played a really interesting schedule. And Akron's one of those teams. Nobody books Akron. No one's like, hey, we're scheduling Akron. They have the hardest time scheduling. They played Yale. They played St. Mary's, all really competitive. These are all tournament teams as well. Like, he calls big, we don't want to play Akron. Like, no one wants to play them. So that's a team, they may not win, but that game's going to go right down to the wire. They gave UCLA all they could handle a couple of years ago when they had Jaime Jaquez. That's a great culture there at Akron. That's going to be a great game.
Bottom of the bracket here, something that stands out. Alabama, one of the best offenses in the nation. A potential second-round game against St. Mary's, one of the best defenses. Something's got to give game. I mean, that could be pretty spicy as well.
What do you think, Tim?
Say which game?
If St. Mary's advances to face Alabama.
Oh, my. Akeem, great call. Alabama would be favorite in that game?
Yep.
I did St. Mary's maybe 2 weeks ago. They have an awesome point guard, Augustus Marshallonis, Sarunas' kid. He will match up with Mark Sears. Edge there, probably a push. Alabama is like worlds more athletic, but St. Mary's goes to the glass. Problem with St. Mary's is they don't shoot it great, and they did not shoot it great in the WCC championship game. They had already beaten Gonzaga twice. If they go like 8 of 15 from 3, I have St. Mary's beating Alabama. Alabama, they aren't choose your own adventure, Matt Norlander, but they're kind of sort of creeping towards that. They score a lot of points. They're fun to watch. They're high octane. But if they play St. Mary's and St. Mary's grinds them out, that's going to be a bad matchup for them.
I'm still in on St. Mary's, though. Like, St. Mary's is properly seeded, I suppose. They're a dangerous team. I mean, you look across what if they could beat Vandy, which won't be an issue, and they play Alabama. There's immense potential here. The Gales are better than you think. They really are. They've really got a really good chance here to, man. Their path, like Wisconsin, BYU has been hot. I think St. Mary's is the real dark horse in this region.
Totally agree. I want to give you one more team, guys. Okay. VCU. I think the Atlantic 10 was underrated. By the way, if they don't win, they're probably not getting in because their strength of schedule was terrible. George Mason's strength of schedule was terrible as well. Here's what I like. Their top 3 scorers from last year returned for this year. Where does that happen in college basketball anymore? Max Schulger was with Ryan Odom at Utah State. He came over to VCU. He was the player of the year in the Atlantic 10. They played 4 quad 1 games, VCU. They were 3-1. Okay, like they have the recipe. Oh, by the way, Ryan Odom, bye-bye. See you later, buddy. He's going to go get a job.
I know. Ryan Odom, big candidate, Virginia. We get it maybe.
And by the way, so my point is he wins this time of year. Like, I have VCU going very far, winning multiple games in this bracket.
Broad strokes, I do sense us pining to get down to the nitty-gritty, so let's head there next. We're going to get into each and every matchup, starting with the first 4. Whether you think they belong there or not, they're there now. We're going to get to those picks each and every game, round by round, help you fill out your bracket next on CBS Sports HQ.
We're going to Dayton.